All right, kia ora everyone. We'll keep this relatively brief today, just sort of 5 or 10 minutes. Grant Robertson's going to be doing a full stand-up in Auckland. He will have had time to digest the National Party's plan, which clearly I haven't. So, although I have seen one or two highlights, which I will comment on in a moment. So we'll keep it relatively brief and he'll give you more detailed comment. What is clear from what I have seen so far is that the National Party are proposing $2 billion worth of benefit cuts. In the middle of a cost of living crisis, they're prioritising cutting benefits and giving tax breaks to property speculators and landlords. I think that says everything about their priorities. This will result in more children living in poverty. We've lifted 77,000 children out of poverty in the last 6 years. That's required a concerted effort from government. The National Party's plans announced today, first of all, they don't add up. But one thing that does add up is that they're going to have more children living in poverty. Their priorities have been really clear. They want to sell New Zealand homes to overseas investors. They want to put thousands of people out of work, but they won't say who's going to lose their jobs or when. They want to continue to run down our public services like they did last time they were in government by not investing properly in them. And today we've seen that they want to force more children into poverty by cutting benefits. I think that says everything that New Zealanders need to know about where their priorities are.
What will this mean for beneficiary families?
This will ultimately mean more children living in poverty, and it will mean that they go backwards.
National reckons it can deliver a larger surplus and lower debt than you. Do you believe them?
No.
Why not?
Well, none of their other numbers add up.
National beneficiary backing.
Look, National always likes to punch down, and clearly if they're talking about cutting benefits in order to pay for tax breaks for property speculators and landlords, that's another example of that.
When you're talking about beneficiaries, more beneficiaries in poverty, what does that look like? Is this less food for them? Is it they don't have warm clothes? Can you elaborate on what that means when people are in poverty?
Look, contrary to what the National Party think, it's not easy to live on a benefit. People on a benefit generally are living a pretty hand-to-mouth existence. Cutting their benefits in order to pay for tax cuts is actually going to force more children into poverty, and it's going to make life very difficult for those people.
Is it fair to describe it as a cut when they're just not increasing it as much as you would?
It is a cut. I mean, those families would get that money if it were not for National's changes. So that is a cut.
What they've got now, right?
Well, in real terms, yes, it does make a significant real terms reduction to what they'll end up getting.
Angela, just a question for a colleague. Is the Weet-Bix dispute between the warehouse and sanitarium a case the Food and Grocery Commissioner should look into?
It's a case the Commerce Commission are looking into. I am concerned about that. I think any suggestion that there's anti-competitive behaviour here, you know, with the supplier reducing supply to a potential competitor to the supermarket duopoly is very concerning. And so I do want, I have been reassured that the Commerce Commission are looking at that very actively.
But not something for the Grocery Commission?
Well, the Grocery Commissioner sits within the Commerce Commission. So.
Winston says Labor is racist and causing division, not him. Are you?
I think the comments made by New Zealand First candidates makes it very clear who the racist party are.
What did you make of the letter this morning? What did you make of the letter this morning from Māori leaders? Calling on Christopher Luxon maybe to call out a bit more of what acting New Zealand First did.
It highlights a sentiment that I have encountered in the Māori community across the country pretty much right the way through the year, that I think they're just sick and tired of being used as a political football. It's not a way of bringing the country together.
Chris Luxon says you're bringing up the race debate because you're a desperate man. What do you say to that?
Well, he has been doing it since the day he became leader of the National Party.
Well, is there a risk
Angela Roberts has posted on Facebook about being slapped and shaken by a member of the public while she was attending a candidates event. What do you know about that?
I had a brief conversation on the phone with her yesterday. I'm very concerned about what happened to her. Obviously, I don't want to, I understand that she's made a police complaint, so I don't want to get into the details of that because obviously that will be a matter for the police. But again, it is a reminder that election campaigns should be conducted with respect and with dignity. People are absolutely entitled to express their views. They're entitled to do that very passionately during an election campaign. That's what democracy is all about. No one is entitled to physically interfere with another person and certainly not to assault them.
Is this something that has been more prominent in this election, and is it directed more at Labour?
There certainly does appear to be more risk in this election than we've seen in recent elections. We've been very mindful of that and the way we manage our candidate safety. My number one message to all of my team has been, if you are concerned about your safety in any situation, don't put yourself in that situation. And if that means not going to a meeting and being criticised for not going to a meeting because you don't feel that you are going to be safe there, then I will absolutely defend you doing that.
Has there been anyone else, apart from Angela, that you've been made aware of?
Look, there have been bits and pieces at the margins, but where there has been a case that's like this one, my message to all of our MPs and candidates is that reporting those to the police is important.
In your speech in Kawakawa yesterday, you spoke about traditional parties that had at times been race baiting or stayed silent on Māori issues, and you were going to take a different path there. In the staying silent part, were you referring to anything in particular? And I guess there has been some criticism of maybe having not come out more strongly in support of co-governing, explaining to the public that in the early days. So can you explain that?
I was around in politics when Don Brash did his very, very divisive speech, and I don't think we pushed back hard enough on it. I'm not going to take the same approach. I'm going to be very active in calling out people who are dog whistling with racism. I don't think that should be a way to win votes.
Is there a risk that when you label a party racist, that their supporters might see that it's themselves being called racist?
No, because people support political parties for a whole variety of different reasons.
If re-elected, is Labour open to accepting funding from China's Belt and Road Initiative?
I don't want to turn that into a campaign issue. I don't want to turn that into a party issue. So speak, if I hold the logo for a moment and speak as Prime Minister. We've been clear that we don't see any investment in China through the Belt and Road Initiative happening.
So in your comments about not using Māori as a political football, I mean, are you, I guess, worried in some ways that you speaking out like this in turn could further inflame some of these discussions?
Ultimately, you have to call them out. I mean, I think leadership is about calling out behaviour that's not acceptable, and that's what I'm doing.
Sorry, just back on the Commerce Commission. Do you have any concerns about that, given Pierre van Heerden was the manager of Sanitarium for a number of years?
No, I'm not, because I'm confident. The advice that I've had is that conflict has ended. There is no longer any residual conflict, and that if there is, it's being appropriately managed.
Aside from calling,
sorry, missed you in the corner.
Aside from calling out divisive politics, what does this drawing line in the sand actually mean?
It means just doing exactly that. It means actually defending what we're doing. So I will very vocally talk about what we're doing in the co-governance space, what we're doing and why we're doing it. I will talk proudly about the work that we have done around the establishment of the Māori Health Authority, for example. I will defend that, and I will talk positively and proactively about the reasons behind why we're doing it.
And you've been through quite a few election periods. Is this one feel slightly different in terms of the way it's the charged atmosphere?
Every election campaign is different, and this campaign is different, but every election is important, and I believe that this is one of the most important that we've encountered in recent times.
Would you like to see Sanitarium revisit its decision to cut off the warehouse?
Look, it is a matter for the Commerce Commission, but clearly I want to see competition in the grocery sector, and I would take a very dim view of any suppliers who are shutting out potential competitors from the grocery market.
And was today's walkabout, was that a sign of the new higher energy that you're going to be bringing?
Well, you can judge for yourself, but I thought it was pretty good.
How do you rate your passing ability?
I got a 3 out of 5, which I'll take that. I'll take that, 3 out of 5.
Is that the All Blacks?
What's that?
Tomorrow, All Blacks playing tomorrow?
I won't be joining them, no. All right, thanks everybody.
Can we talk to candidates about their experience on
Yeah,
the trail?
sure.
Just because of the charged nature, Jenny, what are you sensing out there? Is it toxic? Is it healthy rivalry?
There's been a bit more of a fringe element, probably, but I've had no personal instances of feeling unsafe myself, and I will have attended around about a dozen public debates.
Have there been any that you have specifically avoided because you thought that it could get heated, or there might be other candidates there that were coming to attack you personally?
No, people do get quite heated sometimes, and they're entitled to do so. I think it's part of your job as being a local member of Parliament and a politician to be able to answer whatever questions people give you, and they're entitled to receive an answer. I've been really heartened by those community groups that have hosted those meetings to be very clear at the outset about what the ground rules are, and I think when that's done clearly, people know to treat each other with respect.
Just did a walkabout here in the Huts, your stomping ground. Did it feel like a rock star reception?
People are always really welcoming in the Hut, and today was no different.
Ibrahim, can we check a couple of questions? Oh, sorry, you want to go?
Your everything.
Yeah, you here?
Just
Just your experience, in campaigning. Have you experienced anything nasty?
No. In Wellington Central, what we're seeing is obviously from event to event, you see sometimes people raising their voice. That's just so patient. They want to express themselves, but I haven't seen anything specifically directed at me or to other candidates.
Yeah, and just on your comments about wealth tax the other night at a candidates meeting, you able to explain a bit more?
I mean, look, in the Labour Party policy on wealth tax is quite clear. We are not taking wealth tax to the election. That's quite clear. We obviously have, as you know, as a politician, this is a democratic process. We might have our own views. We often talk about things, but at the caucus, we all back the Prime Minister, and we're not taking the wealth tax to the election.
And you personally?
We might have our own personal views on things, but again, I'm a member of the Labour Party caucus. I back the Prime Minister 100%.
Did you speak?
What are your personal views? What are your personal views?
Oh, my personal views is that we're not taking the wealth tax to election. Yeah.
Implicitly, sounds like you support it.
I'm solid behind the Prime Minister.
It's not dead, though.
Like I said, we're not taking the wealth tax to the election. We are very clear about it. That's the Labour Party policy. As our caucus position, I'm member of the caucus. I back the Prime Minister.
Is it difficult campaigning in a seat where obviously one of your biggest competitors there, and the Greens are very fiercely advocating for?
I think this election is it's being conducted in different atmosphere than the previous one. There's a lot of things at stake. There's a lot of things at play. But in saying this, my experience in Wellington Central have been really nice. It's good.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
So, Andrew, what about